Ivy, join us.
Mr. Haldane, how do you measure your love for the Philippines? And I want to know if that question is important for you.
How do I measure it?
Yes, and the other one is, this is another question. It's about assimilation or being a Filipino. Is it, um, because you're a journalist, and I know some journalists are, we keep going from one place to another. We call it parachute journalists.
That's right.
And then we cover the event. And in my case, I would go around, to other places, I see the airport, the destination, and go home.
Right.
But you've done something different, and you've married a Filipina. So I want to find out if there is some kind of assimilation, and I want to know how an American in modern times become assimilated to the Philippine culture.
Yeah.
And of course, the Pooh story is a very good story, but theoretically, in terms of talking about it, how is your assimilation apart from the pancit and the food, and of course, you said you were so thankful
Yes.
because it seems that the Philippines is a place for old people.
Yeah.
Yes, so I want your take on those two questions about your
Assimilation.
measure of love and assimilation, or if that kind of love is still important nowadays.
The love of the place, you mean? Love of the culture.
The culture, the Filipinos, because everything, the place, the Filipinos.
Okay. Well, let me start with assimilation. Let me start with the question on assimilation. I can't say it's been easy, there have been many challenges, and a lot of it just has to do with convenience. Where I come from, California, we can get whatever we want when we want it. If you hire somebody to do a job, they do it. And, they show up every day until the job's done. And then you pay them and say thank you, and, that's that. Not so easy in the Philippines, and I know when we were building our house, I would have the experience where, we basically had a whole crew working for several years on our house. We were supporting these people, and some Mondays, we'd wake up and they just weren't there. And I'd say, Ivy, is it a holiday? He'd say, no, not that I know of, So we'd wait a couple of hours, nobody's there. And so, when we'd call up the foreman and he'd say, oh, sorry, it was a fiesta in their barangay last night. And, they drank a little too much, so, sorry. And then, 3-4 days later, they would show up. And that took a lot of getting used to. In the States, you do that, you're fired. That's it. You lose the job. Here, it's not quite that simple. And so I've had to learn to adapt in that way, to dance a little bit with the culture, to change my expectations as far as how quickly and efficiently things get done, how available things are. And it's still, I'll be honest, it's still a challenge for me. I'm not entirely there. I think I'm a lot better now than I was a few years ago when I first came here. But I still have days where I go, what? What am I thinking, So that's been and there are, in general, as I've said, the people are very warm and loving. And there's a kind of a faith that people have here in the goodness of the world, and the fact that, as I said, as my wife said, the day I got laid off, everything will be just fine. And that's kind of a double-edged sword in a way. It's wonderful, and that I love it, I emulate it, I want to be more like that. I love that my wife is like that, so optimistic, and that everyone here is, most people. But there's another side to that, there's a kind of a, everything will be okay, so we don't have to do anything about it. And that can be crazy making. where, things aren't always okay, and sometimes, you need to do something about it. You need to be more assertive about making things happen the way they should happen, at least from an American point of view. That's how I look at it. But I think a lot of Filipinos sort of see that as kind of obnoxious and, overbearing. My wife and I, in our relationship, have come to a nice, I think we have a good compromise. She kind of gets me and I get her. And I think more and more that's the way it's becoming for me with the country in general. The people I know sort of get me and I sort of get them. So we're managing to hash out, a way, path. As far as the question about love goes, it's nice to love the place that you are at, and I still love California, where I come from. I mean, I will always have an attachment to that place. It's where I was born, where I was raised, but it's not the place I'm the most comfortable now, because for all kinds of reasons, some very simple and some complicated. I'm more comfortable here, and I've grown to love this place in a different way. It's not the place I was born, but it's the place that my daughter was born. And it's the place my wife was born. And I feel very connected to this place in that way, to the beauty of the place, the feeling that the place has, the people here. And I guess that's how I would define my love for the Philippines, or for any place. And I feel it, and I'm very grateful to feel it.
Of course, the intertwined relationship between the U.S. and the Philippines, and sometimes it's a love-hate,
Yes,
love-hate, we don't know.
Definitely.
And as a journalist, of course, this is something that does not escape you. So my direct question is, how do you relate to that
Well, that's
relationship between the Philippines and the United States?
That's a very good question, and you're right, I'm very aware of that. And of course, I like it better when the relationship is good. And in general, I will say that most Filipinos have a great, seem to me to have a great affection for America, and seem to more than not, But as you allude to, there have been times in recent years when that relationship has been strained for various reasons. And when that happens, although I understand the reasons, and I get it. I mean, this is a country with a past of colonization and so forth. So it's complicated, and the U.S. and the Philippines has a very complicated relationship. So in general, when things are strained, it makes me sad, and I'm happy when things seem to improve, that I feel better about it. In general, I would like the Philippines, and I hope that the Philippines will continue to have a good relationship with the U.S., but it needs to be a relationship based on mutual respect, mutual self-interest, and not for the benefit of one and not the other. And that's how I would judge these things. And as long as that's the case, then of course there should be a good relationship. But not just from America, but many countries. But it should always be based on mutual respect, mutual self-interest. That's my bottom line.
Thank you. Now we have a question from